This is Dan Kedme, a producer on the Webby Award-winning podcast Masters of Scale. On our show, our host Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, shares some truly surprising tales of scale. We've also asked our sponsor, the Mastercard Center for Inclusive Growth, to share their own tales of scale. How do they help build and contribute to thriving economies? They offered a series of solutions that you can hear throughout our show, or you can listen right now. Up next, learning and earning.
You might buy a Dunkin' Donuts franchise with your cousin, teach at a community college during the daytime. My parents had a jewelry shop and an Oriental rug store. So this notion of a side hustle is not new to most people in the world.
That's Shamina Singh, president of the Mastercard Center for Inclusive Growth, the philanthropic arm of Mastercard. She spends a lot of time thinking about the changing nature of work. She's noticed the rise of the gig economy in the U.S., and she recognizes it. Shamina's parents came from India, and for them, taking multiple gigs was all in a day's work.
Growing up as a daughter of immigrants, I was surrounded by people who were constantly striving for a better life.
New or not, gig life is on the rise. You can drive an Uber in the morning and craft jewelry for Etsy at night. Shamina heard a lot about this last year when she and her colleagues held town halls across the country. They wanted to find out what Americans were worried about. One thing kept coming up: losing their benefits when they changed jobs.
When you are moving from job to job, or when your life situation changes, how do we make sure that the benefits travel with you?
How can benefits, like health insurance, travel with you from job to job?
Whether it's health insurance or skills-based training or life insurance or English as a second language classes, these are things you have to go to different places to get, and they are usually tied to an employer.
But what if all this critical data were stored in one place and owned by the employee instead of the employer?
Could we create a marketplace that's actually tied to the worker? A single place for workers who move from job to job, a one-stop shop for everything they need that moves with them, a situation where the worker is front and center.
The program is still in the conceptual stage, but it would serve both gig workers and traditional workers without benefits, as well as anyone who simply wants to take their benefits from job to job.
We're trying to see how we make it more accessible and easier and more efficient for the worker.
An efficient marketplace built for workers where portable benefits follow them. It's a big vision.
We have to always remember that technology has to work for us. It doesn't happen to us, and it doesn't need to work against us. We've been doing a lot of frontline research with gig workers themselves to understand really how do they live, work, earn? But then also talking to these platform providers like an Uber or a Lyft or a Care.com to really understand what do these platforms need. And we're also talking to insurance companies and the providers of worker training programs, English as a second language programs, all of the touch points that an individual needs to succeed.
It's a big vision. And not just for gig workers, but for any employee who wants to keep their benefits with them. Shamina's in search of like-minded partners, like the ones who listen to this show.
Partners who understand the changes that are obviously happening in the economy and who have the ability to execute at scale.
It comes back to technology and what it can do for us.
How do we harness the technology at our disposal in service of humanity? That has been a theoretical conversation for a long time, but I think now we are moving into the practical realities of shaping business models that recognize that this is indeed upon us.
If you want to help shape this marketplace in the making, Shamina and her colleagues want to hear from you. Email her at scale@mastercard.com. That's scale@mastercard.com.